The whole system started here, with one engineer pasting a diff into a prompt at the end of the day. It worked until two more pull requests landed while she was still on the first one. The billing change is third in that queue, and it merges without anybody looking at it. Nothing notices, and that's the honest part, because there's nothing in there that could notice. Freeze right there on a merge nobody read, because that gap is what this whole exam is about. So here is the STEM exam style. What's missing from that setup and which domain owns each missing piece? That's the last question in this course, and it takes one walk through the finished system to answer. 5 domains, 30 task statements, 60 questions, and one system instead of 5 lists to memorize. So hold this line for the whole walk. 5 domains on paper, one system in the room. At every stop, I'll name the decision, the question it answered, and the domain, starting with the smallest thing she built. Stop 1. One loop, one pull request, and it was genuinely enough. Send the request, read the field that says why it stopped, run the tool it asked for, append the result, go round again. Then 40 files land in one pull request, and the loop that was excellent yesterday goes shallow. It didn't run out of information, it ran out of attention. So stop 2 splits it. A coordinator in the middle with 3 specialists around it, every message routed through the middle. And a specialist wakes up on an empty desk, holding nothing but the string you handed it. Nothing crosses on its own, so whatever the coordinator knows has to be typed into that prompt. Both stops answer where does the work run, and domain 1 is the biggest, roughly 16 of the 60 you'll set. The team can read the code now, and it still can't make anybody listen to it. Stop 3 is the one this course leans on. Everything so far produces a comment, and a comment is advice. The guide says it flatly. Where compliance has to be deterministic, an instruction carries a failure rate that isn't zero. A comment can be ignored, a mechanism can't. So 3 go in, and the guide scores each one separately. A hook that sits in the path of the call and stops it dead when the rule is broken. A handoff that carries the root cause and the recommended action to somebody who never saw the conversation. And a signature on anything that moves money, which makes a person unavoidable instead of invited. Hook and handoff are domain 1. The signature is domain 5 and a stem that says never wants this column. The reviewer can block a merge now and it still can't see past the diff. Stop 4 is about what it can reach, and today it reaches the diff and nothing else. So first, the tools that already ship, the ones that read a file, search the tree and run a command. Then the field that decides whether it picks the right one, the description written on the tool itself. Then the protocol for the systems your org doesn't own because the tracker lives over there. And the errors, those tools hand back with a category and a retriable flag, so it knows try again from stop. Stop 5, same question, new surface. 3 teams run this thing 3 ways and it uses the wrong conventions. A project file everybody gets on clone, then a rule file bound to a path pattern since test files sit in every directory. Then a skill with its own tool restrictions running to the side so its maze stays out of the main conversation. Stop 6. Nobody's awake for the 2 in the morning merge. So a person is the single point of failure. So it stops needing one, a non-interactive run, then a pipeline stage with plan mode kept for changes that need designing. Domains 2 and 3 are both what can it touch, closer to 23 of your 60 than to 20. It reaches everything it needs now, and people have started ignoring what it says. Stop 7 is about how intent gets carried, and right now it flags everything. People close the tab, and the firmware instruction won't reopen it. The fix is criteria you could test, a list of what to report and a list to leave alone, plus examples for the hard calls. Stop 8. The verdict is good prose. The merge gate is a program, and a program can't read prose. So the output gets a shape instead of a style, with nullable fields for what genuinely might not be there. Then validation and a retry that sends the specific failure back with the work instead of asking again politely. And the overnight report moves to the batched route, while the blocking check a developer waits on stays live. Domain 4, about 12 of your 60, and the question here is how is intent carried? The reviewer says the right thing in the right shape now, and on a big repository it forgets the files it opened. Stop 9 is about what survives, and the first thing that doesn't is what it already read. Same reviewer, bigger repository, and it answers from typical patterns instead of the classes it actually opened. No error gets raised because it gets vaguer while sounding exactly as confident. So you decide upfront what can't be summarized and it sits outside the summary in full, tool output trimmed. And every finding carries the path it came from, so a claim can be checked. Stop 10. One box in the middle is also one queue in the middle, so the coordinator is the bottleneck. So the review splits across instances, each file alone for local problems, then one pass for what shows up between them. Preparation reaches for a bigger context window here, and a bigger window doesn't buy attention. Stop 11. Something dies halfway through a long review, and a restart throws away what it had learned. So the session gets a name and can be resumed, and you learn when resuming is worse than starting fresh. A failing part reports what it tried and what it had before it died, not a generic failure nobody can act on. And it escalates on the two things it isn't allowed to decide, a gap in the policy and a real dead end. Domain 5 around 9 of your 60, and it's the one candidates leave until the time runs out. So that's the system, 11 decisions, 30 objectives, 5 domains on paper, 1 system in the room. Which means the honest move now is to say what it still can't do. Here is the part a course usually skips, because a system with no stated limits is a sales speech. Nothing here measures whether the review is correct, and one accuracy number hides whole categories of miss. It can't rank its own findings by how sure it is, because the confidence score it reports about itself isn't calibrated. Everything that manages context compresses something, so provenance only holds for what you kept out of the summary. And a retry can repeat an effect out in the world, so making a tool call safe to run twice is your code's job. None of that's a reason not to build it. It's the list you say when Nadia asks what it doesn't cover. And one exam item sits right on that edge. One question to finish, and it's the only one in this course that needs 2 of the 4 to answer. Take the build one stop short of finished. The gate must never report a clean review when part of it didn't run. On a big pull request, one pass times out, the coordinator finishes anyway, and the gate reads no blocking findings. Tell the coordinator in its instructions to mention any pass that didn't complete. B. Retry the whole review from the beginning whenever a pass fails. C. Have the failing pass return its failure type and partial results, and make the verdict carry a coverage field the gate checks. Run the review on the most capable tier so passes stop timing out. The stem says must never show A is gone for the same reason it was gone in the first episode. B treats a reporting fault as a flaky one, and a second timeout gives the gate the same clean verdict. D lowers a failure rate, and a failure rate is not never. C is the answer, and its halves live in different domains, the failure reporting in 5 and the coverage field in 4. The fault was in what survives. The mechanism is in how intent is carried, and you saw both because you walked them as one build. So here is what you carry into the room. Name which of the 4 the item's asking, then find the absolute and let it kill the advice. The coverage map is 30 task statements with an episode against every line and no blanks in it. Every number that can move lives in the course notes, and the cheat sheet corrected the day it moves. One honest thing about getting in. Registration currently runs through Anthropic's partner network on a company email at a partner domain. A personal address is rejected, and joining at the entry tier is free, so it's an internal conversation, not a purchase. And the merge this episode opened on the billing change nobody looked at can't get through this system. A pipeline stage runs the review whether anybody remembers or not, and the hook holds that merge while billing's in it. Then a signature lands on anything that moves money, so the last call belongs to a person instead of a hurry. Marco's team has nothing left to work around because the rule stopped being a sentence in a file, and Nadia has a guarantee instead of a promise to be careful. 5 domains on paper, one system in the room, and every item on this exam is now a mechanism you watched work.